Pedro from A&P-Reacts. I'm here today with Chris Kontos of the Boneless Ones. You perhaps know him for being the man behind the drum kit with Machine Head as well on their iconic debut record, Burn My Eyes. But today we're not here to talk about that. I mean, maybe a little bit, but we're here to talk about other important subjects. But before that, how's it going with you?
Good, man. Just surviving the apocalypse here, and just waiting to bounce back, and just really trying to hold on. It's been financially straining, it's been artistically straining, it's been relationship straining. All kinds of crazy things have come up in the past 2 years, man. It's really been nuts.
Yeah, I think the main issue, at least for me, with this whole pandemic is that we keep moving the finish line keeps moving. Like the goalposts keep changing and moving around, and that to me is what's become the biggest problem. Is that you start by having that light at the end of the tunnel, but then that light starts to get dimmer and dimmer. Then it gets stronger again. Then it gets dimmer and dimmer. But at the end of the day, we actually never see the end of said tunnel. At least we haven't yet.
Yeah, it's been very frustrating. The information that's out there has been all jumbled, and then you add conspiracy and you add social media, and it all becomes an absolute mess. When about a few months into this, I was contacted by a friend of mine who was actually working for a testing company selling all three of the COVID tests, PCR test, the rapid antigen test, and the antibody test. And he knew that I was dead in the water, wasn't able to get drum students, wasn't out playing. So he offered me this job. So I ended up selling tests, and boy, I got a lot of information fast, and did a lot of Zoom meetings with scientists and doctors. And I think it's unprecedented in history where science has taken such a knock, and just being cast aside as as conspiracy or lies, or the new F word, fake news. So it's really been a mind blower, and
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I just have to say this. I feel like people believe in certain science, but they pick and choose which one is convenient to their agenda, and then the ones and then the stuff that's not convenient, somehow it's not real science. I have kind of a hard time dealing with that, because if I'm having chest pains, I don't go to 7-Eleven to ask the guy there what he thinks I should do. I go to a doctor. But meanwhile, about this, people are finding their information from their unqualified friends on Facebook. I just can't wrap my head around that,
Yeah, it's been nuts. And it also has pushed the light at the end of the tunnel further and further away. So yeah, it is a rabbit hole, and we're here to talk about good stuff. But yeah,
we're here to talk about better stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? There are going to be some great strides taken soon to get us out of this, and things are going to get better. And it is what it is.
So let's start off our conversation with Tom Hunting from Exodus. I'm sure everybody knows what has happened to him, his health struggles that he's gone through now with cancer and surgery. First of all, before we talk about the show, have you heard from him? How's he doing?
I haven't spoken directly to him, but I've been in contact with their manager and Gary Holt on the phone during setting this whole thing up. And he's an absolute beast. I mean, he responded very well to the chemo. The tumors went down by half. They did have to do a pretty major surgery where his stomach was removed, and they attached his intestines to his esophagus. So that went successful. I was blown away. Just a couple hours after the surgery, there's a photo of him where he looks like he's about to go into surgery, and he's already post-op, and he's just throwing up horns, and it's like, what the hell? I mean, so everybody is so happy. I mean, I was crying tears of joy when I saw that photo, and he's gonna make it, and he's gonna persevere. And the strength of the support that the metal scene and his family and friends have given him, I think, has really pushed him forward. And that's how we do it in the metal scene. You've got to, and that's how people do it, supporting their family and friends. But to have this very tight niche, connected, strong community behind him, I think has really helped a lot. And it's the least we can do for Tom. Tom is he's been in my life my entire career of music. I played my very first shows at Ruthie's Inn. The place was deadly hot, no ventilation. And what we used to all do is we used to take 12-pack containers and we would just fan each other. Like you'd get, Matt Fillmore from Sacrilege and, a couple other guys and Tom Hunting, and they're just fanning you, and it was like we all pushed each other. He used to push me to play more 16th notes on the hi-hats as opposed to bata, 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 but he's like, come on, man. He was like, encouraging me always. And, then in 92, I was able to actually play in Exodus after Johnny Tempesta had left. I went and did a South American tour with them. And I learned so much. You think you know a song until you actually play it. And then you start to realize, whoa, I'm in hot water here, because he's just so phenomenal. And his approach and his phrasing and his accents and everything are just very deceptive. When you're listening to it, sounds simple. Trying to put it to the skins is a whole nother story. So I just have immense love for him. On top of everything, he's just the sweetest, kindest, compassionate guy. So yeah, hail Tom.
So this Saturday, you guys are having a show, to raise some funds for him. I know there's other stuff happening, and we're going to touch on that. But about the show first, how did the idea for the show came about?
I believe that Mark Biederman, the guitar player from Blind Illusion, approached Tina Mattis and said, hey, let's do something for Tom. And she said, that would be great. I can attach, I can approach a venue and see if we can get this done. And he asked, they were talking, who should we have on the bill? And he, has a reverence for the Boneless Ones, and he's been watching us kind of make our reemergence to the scene. And he said, let's get the Boneless Ones. And she said, oh, that'd be awesome. And then they also reached out to Harold O. He's the bass player from DRI and one of the main contributors to the Murder in the Front Row book and documentary. He plays bass for a band called Jesus Crisis. And so they got on the bill. And it came together really fast. We were in a smaller venue, and because of COVID restrictions, we were really only going to be able to get 100 people in there. So Tina reached out to another venue where we were able to actually get 300 people. So
it sold out, right?
It sold out. It sold out really quick. Yeah.
That's great news. That's great.
Yeah. And then I reached out to Caton from Hyrax, because he's such an energy and such a great, stage vibe and everything, to be the MC and DJ for the night and help with the raffle. And that's a couple of the other things that you were talking about that's going on with the raffle and the auction, the online auction that's happening.
Yeah, the online auction is incredible. I've seen like the amount of support that you guys got for this from other artists donating items. I know you've donated some items yourself. So like everybody's putting things together. I mean, for the fans of the genre, there's incredible stuff there on this auction. Like, are you, first of all, I'm sure you're not surprised that people jumped on board and lended items for the cause, but do you feel like this is a little bit of the icing on the cake that gives you guys a little bit of an extra push to get some decent money put together for Tom?
Oh, for sure. When we first started talking about the show, like 300 tickets, $25 a piece, that's a nice chunk of money. But the other events that I've done over the years through BMX and also in the metal and helping out, missing children's funds and people who needed surgeries and things, the best way to do it is to do a raffle and do an auction, because then you get that extra boost of people, and then do a live stream with an online tip jar or donation option. And so I took it upon myself to reach out to all those people, because I have a close contact with a lot of those people that have donated items, and started making calls, started emailing, and immediately started to get response. Mike Portnoy, Death Angel, even Foghat reached out and donated a bundle of things. Gene Hogland, Dave Lombardo. We just added Lombardo. There's stuff from Corey Taylor and Roy Mayorga. There's guitars in there from Death Angel. Rob Flynn put up one of his prototype guitars that was used only to record, and an amazing tour case for it. Yeah, it's been an outpouring of love and support that's just unparalleled. And then the raffle items too, you know, we had so many options to where like, okay, we need to have some great stuff at the raffle, and we need to have great like kind of headline stuff on the auction, you know. So we're gonna mix it up and do a bunch of cool stuff. And skateboard, you know, Hyrax sent a skateboard, Exhorter sent a skateboard with t-shirts. DRI has put up other t-shirts besides the little bundle that's on the website. We've got a signed symbol from Violence with a Mechanics record vinyl of the demo, all signed. Most of these items are all signed. So it's been incredible, man. It's heartwarming, to tell you the truth. It really is.
The only thing missing from this whole thing would be you building a half pipe. So while the bands are playing, you could be on the half pipe with your BMX doing some tricks. I think that's the only thing missing.
You know, the funny thing is that like, you know, I get a lot of that with the BMX because I race BMX, which is traditional base, you know, racing, which is 8 guys on the gate or gals on the gate, you know, 4 turns, obstacles in the middle of the track. I really don't do the
You don't do
BMX X Games. Yeah, I don't do the X Games tricks, man. I just go fast.
Well, you know, there's always a time to start. Perhaps now would have been a good time. You know what I mean? Just
yeah, the learning curve with the freestyle is a little bit much for me, man. You know, that's something I would have had to have added a long time ago. You don't heal the same at 50 something, you know.
that is true. That is true. Unfortunately, it is true. It is true. So for
Yeah.
those that can't attend the show because the show is sold out, there's the option to watch the live stream. Now,
Yes.
is the live stream free and there's a tip
Yeah.
jar, or there's a ticket that you have to buy?
No, we're actually going to do it for free. So everybody can come in and enjoy it and watch it. And then, you know, hopefully as they're getting their heart warmed, they will go on over to the link and use the donation jar. It seems to be a better approach as opposed to just putting a ticket out there. You know, you don't want people to hesitate or whatever. You know, it's like some people buy the ticket and then they end up donating way more than the cost of the ticket, or some people just hesitate on the ticket and not watch. So if somebody wants to give up $1, if they want to give up $100, if they want to give up $1,000, whatever, they have that option, you know. But we wanted it to be something that we could share with people so they could feel the love. And hey, it might inspire them to help a friend or do this kind of thing on their own level, you know, as well. So we did the same thing with the Sean Killian benefit that they had for the Killian on Command. And it worked out really well.
And I just want to let everybody who's watching know all the links are going to be in the description of this video. So if you want to watch the stream, if you want to participate in the auction that's going on, like everything, all the information that people need is going to be on the description of this video. So we're not sending people on a wild goose chase. Everything is going to be there. They'll be able to click on whatever it is that they want to be a part of this event and support Tom and let's see him behind that drum kit as soon as possible.
For sure, man. That's the goal, you know, because the Bay Area Strikes Back tour is slated for November. So that's another thing that's in the auction. Testament gave up 2 flights, 2 hotel rooms, and 2 flights anywhere in the in the intercontinental United States, 2 hotel rooms and 2 VIP packages. So let's make sure whoever wins that gets to meet Tom and see Tom play. You know, that's the big goal, you know.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck came out of the box on that one, dude. Everybody was like, "What?"
Yeah, you know? That's crazy. I mean, that's quite the package. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, that's how we roll. You know, I mean, Chuck had a huge benefit for him. You know, where, you know, when he had cancer, and it's a great way to pay it forward. You know, and I mean, people have Death Angel gave up an incredible guitar. And signed it, you know. So it's like I said, it's been an outpouring of love and support that's unparalleled. It was just amazing.
I really like to see what you guys have done, because this is a very grassroots. It's really friends coming out for friends and everybody working together for the betterment of a fellow man, and that's always something to praise. And it's always something that it's enjoyable to see, because it doesn't, we would think that this happens frequently, but within our community, it does. Within the metal world, it does. But outside of the metal world, we don't see this kind of stuff happening as often. So that's a very special thing that metalheads have, that it's a much larger brotherhood.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people these days, they kind of just they roll with a Facebook like or a Facebook heart or, you know, thoughts and prayers and stuff like that. But it is really, okay, complicated, but also easy to do things that can extend some money to these, to people who need it, or, you know, support even, you know. So we are going to leave the auction up 2 days after the event. So, you know, as this live stream kind of goes worldwide, more people can, you know about it and contribute. We had Blabbermouth do a great piece on it, and they're going to do an update tonight to post the live link and the Lombardo drumstick and drumhead. And yeah, so we wanted to give, we were going to kind of end it that night, but then we figured, no, let's give it 2 days after the show, just to get that last boost of energy. You know, I think people are being a little strategic. We've got a Yamaha drum set on there, which is the 50th anniversary drum kit that Yamaha put out. The kit retails for $12,000, and we've got the starting bid at $4,000. And I'm kind of feeling like people are going to be a little strategic on that one and try to just at the last minute try to get that.
I don't know how familiar you are with eBay and bidding, but it's kind of like the way it works. Everybody waits for the last minute, and then in the last minute, there's this like slew of people
Yeah,
coming in and putting their bids in, and the price completely
exactly.
jumps. It just snaps right at the end. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
be,
So
because people don't want to drive the price too high right off the bat. Probably there's a
right.
little bit of that.
Right. And, you know, we've probably got about $21,000 in there right now on items. So that's going to be really helpful. And yeah, I'm very proud of everybody that's been involved. Bungie Brent is a great photographer and guy here in town. He really helped put the whole thing together with the auction. It's quite difficult. You know, they want a tax ID number or a 501c nonprofit to attach it to. And talking to the guy at Paybe, he kind of fell in love with the whole thing and actually gave us the website for $1. Yeah, and so, you know, he saw the love and felt the love, and also felt that we're just caveman metalheads doing something for our friends, you
Yeah,
know.
just looking
So
after one of our own. That's all.
exactly. So he kind of fell in love with the whole thing too, and that was a gracious gesture by him. And so yeah, we're really happy with it, man. And hopefully this will keep going, and Tom will get better, and we'll see him back where he's in his natural environment.
In its natural habitat.
Yes.
And
Yes.
speaking of natural habitat, moving to a different topic, your natural habitat is pretty much the same behind that drum kit. So on August 21st, you're heading over to Europe to play
Yeah.
at Dynamo Fest.
Yes.
How, first of all, I want to ask you about that experience back in 1995. I was a little
Mhm.
wee lad, but I remember that performance, and thank God for YouTube. We can all go and relive it. But
Yeah.
before we talk about that, how this whole Bay Area inter-thrational thing come together, and who's in it?
Well, there's a cast of characters from around the world that are involved. I don't want to give up the secret because it's really kind of a special thing. I will tell you that it started out with an idea that Craig LaCicero, who's the guitar player for, as we know, Forbidden, Man-Made God, Spiral Arms, Dress the Dead. A couple years ago, he came up with this idea with Dynamo to have this Bay Area moment, this homage and tribute to that 81 to 84 moment that happens here, that starts our world and becomes Metallica. It becomes everything based out of this little club. And so they started cultivating the idea, and we all know what happens: COVID. And it crushed it. And the idea was, you know, potentially gone. And as things started to lift and change, and a couple of festivals happened in Holland, the idea came back up. They contacted Craig, and Craig has put this whole thing together. He's been doing tireless work getting the people who are going to be playing involved. I can tell you that Death Angel's on the bill, and that so we will have a couple members of Death Angel in there: Will Carroll, Rob Cavastani, and Mark Osegueda. Myself, Mark Hernandez, who plays in Dress the Dead, because Dress the Dead is also on the bill. But then there's there's going to be a lot of surprises, and we want to kind of keep it surprise, not have anybody talking about this person or that person's band or why this person and why not this person. We just really want to keep it a surprise as the people approach the stage and take the guitar. And it's a multitude of bass players, guitar players, and vocalists. Some that are on the festival, some that are being flown in special for the gig. And I think people are going to be blown away by the thing. And the music that we're doing is just Exodus, Metallica, Testament, Death Angel, Possessed, Violence, and Forbidden. So it's really that murder in the front row kind of moment.
Yeah, the next logical question is, have you guys had a chance to practice with each other, or is this going to be kind of like organic? We'll just go where it goes.
We're going to be rehearsing. The people that are in other countries or whatever, they've got to really bone up and be ready. We do have one rehearsal night that we will be able to get a lot of the people that are involved, but there will be a few people that are going to walk up cold. And but these people are, of course, master musicians. Yeah, and these are the songs that we all know. You know what I mean? So getting up there and doing it, it's like, I think if we give them the surroundings, it sounds like they're just playing along to the record, and they'll fall into suit. So we're really excited about it. There's of course, with everything, as you said, the goal line gets pushed back, brought forward, pushed back. So there are things going on right now in Holland where the youth 16 to 25 really aren't getting the vaccinations. There's a lot of trepidation, a lot of hesitation about getting the vaccine, and it's kind of caused a little bit of a scare. So we've all got our fingers crossed that this is going to really, really happen. Everybody's fully invested. Tickets have been bought, offers have been made and paid for the bands. Creator is on the bill. So yeah, we're holding on for dear life. On August 14th, Holland is making a national decision on whether they're going to actually go green or stay amber. And if they stay amber, it may affect the Dynamo, but we're really holding on because there has been really no traced cases from the shows that have happened post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's really still showing its face in bars.
Closed areas perhaps being more of an issue. I mean, you guys are outdoors, so it's there's less risks.
Yeah, well, actually, this is going to be indoors.
It's going to be indoors?
Yeah, it's actually 10,000 people, I believe, in a 25,000 person indoor arena. So, yeah, so we should be able to do that. There's a lot of, COVID, it's social distancing, with a pop show, pop rock fans or pop music. They stand in one place and watch the show through their phone mostly anyways. So telling them to stay put is one thing. But when you're talking about alternative music, metal, punk rock,
it's a different.
We're touchy-feely. We want to bang into each other. We want to go arm in arm in the pit. We want to crush the front row, and so those are some liability issues and some control issues. So in the fuck you, I'll do whatever I want mentality, we have to also pull back and realize, hey, how bad do you want it? And how bad is just the visceral sound and getting in your bones and getting in your ears matter to you? Because right now we've got to take baby steps to reapproach slam dancing and crowd surfing and all those things. We have to kind of up our mentality a tiny bit and say, hey, if we want this to happen, it's going to be baby steps. We can't provoke the security. We can't make it a hard thing for the venues to actually pull off and feel safe putting their security up against. Immediately there were talks of how security teams aren't going to touch metal shows, venues aren't going to touch metal shows just because of that prevailing, F off, I'm slamming.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there's definitely baby steps that have to be taken. And I think us as a community of metalheads, I think we also have to look at the livelihood of our own community. And if we want this community to strive and to survive during these really difficult times for musicians, for bands, there's some sacrifices that we have to make. And I think those sacrifices are really minimal compared to the sacrifices that these bands and musicians like yourself have made throughout this year and a half. I mean, like me having to sit on a chair or stand in one place to watch you guys play, it's really minimal as far
Yeah.
as list of sacrifices go when bands haven't been able to tour, play any live music, and really lost more than perhaps 90% of their income.
Yeah, and also it's not, as there's that term, the rockers make it rock, but the roadies make it roll. Um, Countless millions of, there's 2.8. Well, in the middle of this, the number came out to about 2.8 million people in the entertainment industry that were out of work. And when you consider that the Machine Head tour had 31 people on it, and there's 5 guys in the band, that is a huge number of people who are out of work. The techs, the lighting crews, the local loaders in
Yeah.
towns who count on coming in and setting up these shows. It was a colossal loss of work and livelihood for way more people than the artists. And that's something that people have to register and think about too, is like, while we were on tour, we really realized that the super spreader thing, once we were home, we really realized, like, the 75 people a night VIP, the coming into venues and being locked in these venues with everybody, you start to get a sense of, wow, we do this over and over every night. And athletes and musicians and crew people and venues are very exposed, very vulnerable, but it is a super spreader event. And I wrapped my head around that very quickly once I started to actually also work for the testing company, how those numbers work and how that level of infection can work. We can talk a little bit about what happened to Machine Head on the US tour. But yeah, it's been very, very hard to watch these amazing road crew and techs and lighting guys and pyro guys struggle during this, because they really make it happen. They give us the platform and the comfort and the security that we can go up there and just deliver our goods without thinking about guitar string breaking or drumstick or drum set being, or the lights being wrong, or it's a long day. These people get up early in the morning and they're pushing gear at 4:40 in the morning. So
yeah, and I think that a lot of bands found ways in terms of live streams or
yeah,
merch lines or that kind of stuff. So while not being perfect, at least they found some ways of generating some revenue. These guys have
yes,
no way of generating revenue. Like, I have friends of mine who are either like tour managers, or they work for them, or they do merch during tours.
yeah.
And during this pandemic, I'm seeing their posts on Facebook, and they're just like completely gutted because there's nothing for
Yeah.
them to do.
Yeah, it's been a shame and it's been tragic, and I want to get those people back to work. It means so much to so many families and so many people that have committed their lives to being in the background and being off to the side. You know, uh, Watching the techs and Machine Head, I mean, they run the pedals, they run the guitars, they're playing along basically back there, keeping the effects pedals going and keeping everything going on. It's incredible to watch. It always has blown me away. I'm a bit of a production whore. I always love to watch the inner workings of how a show goes from truck to production, and it's always fascinated me. And so my love for those people is immense.
So now, getting back into Dynamo, you were there in 1995 with Machine Head. Like I said,
Yeah,
for those like me that grew up in that era, that show, that performance on that show is absolutely iconic. I think we
sure.
can use that word, and people can go on YouTube and watch it. How was
Yeah.
it for you, a young kid, going there, playing in front of that massive audience, the energy? Like, did it stay with you?
Oh, I will never ever forget um, any part of it. We had our girlfriends and wives come out for it. We had many friends from the Bay Area come out there. It was the Roadrunner moment. There's so many Roadrunner bands that were doing well on that show. And just the camaraderie. It was the first festival I'd ever played in my life. The first festival that Machine Head had ever played. And we're on day one, we're getting these number counts of like 130,000 people, 150,000 people there, you know, and that'll put the shock on your bones, you know, and it'll also make you, if you're that kind of person, it'll make you realize you've got to bring the mark up. You've got to really deliver this, you know, and being a Kiss fan, an Alice Cooper fan, you know, the big rock, arena rock thing, you know, I saw Led Zeppelin in '77 when I was 8 years old, completely formative for my life. I've always been aware of the kabuki aspects of a rock show. You know, you're playing to the back row, you know, and I think Rob understood that. I think the guys understood that, and I think we played larger than life. You know, the funny thing about that video was they were filming those shows for a special on Headbangers Ball, and actually they were only supposed to like video like 3 or 4 songs and then kind of whittle that down to 1 or 2, maybe, you know, to show on the special. And they ended up filming the entire set. And then it just disappeared. And it disappeared for years and years and years. And then it surfaced. Our sound guy, Vinny, found out through his connections through Dynamo, Andre, that this video, this full length, exists. And then I finally ended up getting a DVD of it, and it was just a mind blower because, you know, you have that moment in your data in your head, but to actually see what we did and see that reaction. And there's a couple moments in that video where I could see Rob is just like he's scanning the crowd, and he is just like blown away. And it's I guess you maybe have to know Rob a little bit to know the facial expression to where he's really awestruck, you know. And I think it really is a becoming for him. I think it really it switches a light switch in him from what we were coming from, which was smaller gigs. You know, the tour that we had done before that was Obituary, Napalm Death, and that was, you know, 300 to, you know, 1,000 kids at a time, packed into smaller venues. And then we go out with Slayer, and the Slayer tour happens, and then that Dynamo, we're asked to play Dynamo, and it was just an unbelievable time, you know. And I really cherish that moment.
I want to go back to this conversation, but before we do that, you mentioned the word boneless there, so I have to ask you about the Boneless Ones. You guys have taken a little bit of a hiatus, maybe a little bit. I'm being nice. Maybe I'm being
for sure.
I'm being nice here. I'm you know, nice. I have you on the show, so I got to be pleasant to my guests. So yeah. I'm going to use a nice word to describe it. But sure. I know that you guys are working on new material. There's new material around the corner, if you will. Yeah. What can you share about what's coming down the road?
Well, you know, the Boneless Ones come from the early skate scene in Berkeley, California. They were very tongue-in-cheek, very skate rock and punk rock kind of blend. The guitar player, Luke Skeels, was one of Joe Satriani's first 10 students. You know, that's Vi, Kirk Hammett, Bob Coons, Mark Biederman, Phil Kentner from Laws Rocket. You know, there's a tight group of cats, and he was phenomenal. And the call on Luke was, wow, this guy's way too good to be in this kind of spoofy skate rock band, you know, because it's the bar dives and the hammer-ons and all this technique. And unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. And Max really wanted to get back at it after 1986 was the last shows. And there was a batch of 5 songs that were demoed basically right after that very early January 97, or 87. And those songs were just sitting in a can for 30 some odd years. And then me and Max reconnected, and he was like, dude, I want to do the band again. Troy's ready. Our bass player, Troy, is a phenomenal and pretty famous editor in Hollywood. He's done tons of stuff. He started on Tales from the Crypt on HBO, and he was able to slip the band that we went into after I was in the Boneless Ones a very short time in '86. At the same time, I was in Attitude Adjustment, and the band was already dissolving. I walked into a bit of a hornet's nest, and the band, it split up pretty quick after I was in the band, and we went on to a band called Hell's Kitchen, myself, Luke, and Troy, with Dave Chavez from Verbal Abuse and Tom Flynn from Fang. And this was very Spinal Tap, very tongue-in-cheek, very goofy, fun party rock kind of band. And he was able to get one of the songs into an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and not just have it in the background, but it's an integral part of the episode. If you could ever check it out, it's really good. It's about a painter who was he ran out of stuff to paint, and his downstairs neighbor is blaring music, and he tells him to turn it down, and the guy goes and turns it up, and he comes out onto his patio, and he goes, "Is that better?" And he flips the painter off, and the painter shakes his rail, and a plant falls off of the rail, smashes the guy in the face, flips him off of the patio deck, and he goes and takes a picture of it, and he paints it, and he starts selling these death poses to macabre art dealers. So the song really plays a huge part of it. And then Troy's also been able to get the Boneless Ones in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, all three, shows or movies. And then also it's in the background in The Bounty Hunter with Gerard from 300.
Yeah, Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler and Jennifer Aniston. It's in a tattoo scene. So it's always kind of kept a reverence, And then the Skate for the Devil album, the song Skate for the Devil, was voted by Thrasher magazine the greatest skate rock song of all times, all posthumously after the band has been well dissolved. So we really wanted to get the band back together, and we were able to do it. We played the Hate Street Fair in 2019, which was awesome. But we weren't hitting the mark of the guitar skills with the guitar players that we were enlisting to be in the band. There's a heightened metal level, a Bay Area thrash, Ruthie's Inn standard almost with what Luke put down. So I asked Craig LeCicero if he would be in the band, and it has been the ultimate shot in the arm. I got to tell you, we thought we were going to feed him some songs, get some ideas, but he's very busy with his other band. The guy has written 7 songs, some of the best music we've written ever. And we're just thrilled right now. We're going in October to Sharkbite Studios, where Machine Head records. Great studio. And we're going to record our sophomore album 36 years later. And we've really stayed on brand. The songs are about skating and partying and having fun. And, so we've stayed on brand, and we've kept that Berkeley sound. And we're just really thrilled. And we've been doing really well with merchandise. Max owns his own merchandise company, so we've been able to stay afloat during the pandemic. And some great things have recently happened. We just got our own skateboard wheel from Speed Lab.
You guys got your own wheels, which is freaking cool. I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, dream come true for Max, and Troy, the lifetime skaters, So great things have been happening for the band, and we're super stoked to bring the product out and get out there and play some great events.
So if you guys are hitting the studio in October, what is the light at the end of the tunnel for you guys? When do you hope to have something coming out, that sophomore album?
Well, we're on Beer City Records currently, and they're pretty much a vinyl house. They do vinyl only, so it'll be out on vinyl first, and then we're gonna, we retained all the digital rights and stuff like that. So we're gonna launch. We're gonna find somebody to work with to do a really good launch of the music onto Spotify and all the digital formats where people can hear the music. And then because of Troy's schedules and pretty much all of our schedules, we all have different things going on. And potential for the 2022 and the lifting. There's things in the works. So we really have to kind of keep it specialized. So we really want to play skate events, play X Games, Monster Energy drink, skate things. We want to play special events because we're really, at this point, not the kind of band that's going to be able to get in the van and tour 22 nights in a row. So we have to kind of go about it a little bit differently. We're playing with DRI October 23rd. Which is going to be amazing, but we're going to be kind of selective to make the events that we play and the shows we play really matter.
Yeah, make them special.
Yeah, and not really go at it what I call wherever there's electricity kind of touring. That's a
I've never heard that before, but I'm totally done with that expression.
yeah. So we have to go about it in a different little strategic way, but we're going to be out there and we're going to be playing, and so that's kind of the plan.
So the last topic of discussion that I have for you is it would be remissive of me not to bring up a little bit. I know we already talked a little bit about Machine Head, but
Sure.
I have to bring this as our last topic of conversation because you know this because we've talked off camera
Yeah.
about it. That the first drummer that I have ever saw live was you. Like you guys,
Wow.
Machine Head was the first show that I ever went to as a kid. I skipped school on Monday. I bought a ticket. I took a public, I guess you could call it public transit bus, like a Greyhound, for
Yeah.
2 hours to go from my little town to Lisbon to see Machine Head opening for Slayer. Obviously, I went for Slayer because I had no clue who Machine Head was at that time.
At the sports complex.
Yeah, so I walk in there, and you guys come on stage, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I've never heard of this band before, and they just blew me away. Like, so you were the first drummer that I ever witnessed live. The band was the first actually band that I saw live. And
Wow.
I was so impressed with you guys that next day before I got on a bus for 2 hours again to head back home, I went to the local record store and I bought Burn My Eyes, the CD. I went and I had to buy it because I was like, when I go back home to my little town, I have to show everybody who this band is because everybody already knows Slayer. Like talking about Slayer is not it's not really cool at this point because everybody already knows. But this band, everybody needs to listen to Machine Head. These guys were just, you guys blew me away.
Oh, thank you, man.
So I have to say this to you because you were the first drummer that I saw in my life as a teenager, and now due to this pandemic, you're the last drummer that I've seen live. We've gone full circle.
That's amazing.
It's absolutely nuts. When I was thinking about that the other day, I was like, wow, like my life has gone completely full circle here. So
yeah,
how was that tour for you guys? Because I remember when I bought the ticket, obviously I bought it because I wanted to see Slayer, huge Slayer fan. In Europe at that time, I don't think Machine Head, I don't think a lot of people knew who you guys were, but that tour, I feel personally that it really put the band on the map. It really
100%. 100%. I mean, Roadrunner was putting a lot into us. They had our back completely, but it's still unproven at that point. And when we got that Slayer tour, we were actually on tour with Napalm Death and Obituary. Both of those bands were like scratching as hard as they could to get that tour. And about 7 days, 8 days into the tour, after watching both bands on their buses, on the phone with their management, with their record labels, and everybody trying to jockey for that thing, Machine Head secretly got the tour. And we were told, like, look, you guys have the tour. You can't say anything yet, especially to Napalm Death and Obituary, because it would just funk the whole tour.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we had to kind of sit on that secret for the rest of the tour, and then when it came out, look, we're all like connected to Slayer through the Ruthie scene. We've all seen them. We've all booed and chanted kill, kill, kill over the opening bands. You know what I mean? It's a hard knock position to be in front of Slayer, because Slayer fans want Slayer. They'll take them for no openers. Just give us Slayer, So I've witnessed that brutality from the crowd. We were terrified, bro. I'll tell you straight up. We were terrified about bringing what we do out on the road with Slayer. It was a different kind of groove metal that was happening with us. We experienced it on the road with Napalm and Obituary. People were kind of puzzled, and then we'd win them over. We have a half-hour set. So on that tour, we already saw smatterings of, oh boy, they're not getting us. This danceable metal, as I call it. I call it knee lifters ball metal. It's kind of has a groove and a funk to it that you can move to instead of just fist bang mania. So going into that, yes, we were nervous, and it just worked. I mean, Slayer was so supportive of us, and actually fans of the band. Carrie and Tom really, and Jeff really loved the band. I had a hardcore punk connection with Jeff, so we hit it off. Um, you know, Bostoff being in the band at that time, very close connection to Rob and again myself, and it felt like home, you know. And they gave us the sound and enough stage to deliver what we do best, you know. And you know, all thanks to them for that, you know, because it was the launch point for the band. And
Oh, without a doubt.
yeah,
I think you guys started that set on that tour. Was Davidian was the opening track, if I remember. If my mind is not playing tricks on me, I think that was
yes,
the opening track. My buddy broke his arm on that song, and he stayed for the rest of. He's like, "There's no way I'm going to the hospital. I'm staying here until Slayer plays the last note, and then you can take me to the hospital." That's how much of
wow,
an impact you guys had. That track, when you guys came on stage,
yeah,
and from my perspective, I was blown away. I've been a Machine Head fan from that point on. I was
thank you,
what,
man.
14, 15 at the time,
Sure,
and like, you guys drove me to buy the CD the next day. That's the kind of impact that you had on me as a fan on that night. So I never forget that. And now moving
yeah,
forward to the last time I saw you, that was the first time.
yeah.
So now the last time I saw you in Toronto for the 25-year anniversary, how was that for you? Going once again, going full circle.
Well, it was incredible. You know, when I got the call, well, first what happened was when Dave and Phil had left the band, I knew I was going to get a call. My phone absolutely blew up with friends and family, and my emails and all my social media is like, wow, dude, those guys left. And, you know, this is the 25th anniversary year of Burn My Eyes. This is uncanny timing. And I knew I was going to get a call, and I wasn't going to call myself, but I knew that I would be getting the call. And Joey called me, and he asked if I'd be willing to have a sit down and talk about it. So I took the phone away from my head and I said, bye bye BMX, because I can't get hurt. So yeah, Joe, I'd be glad to do that. And we had an amazing conversation. You know, when you're 20 something years old and you have conflict and you have two leaders on top of a mountain, you're like a couple of mountain goats, you know. And that's kind of where me and Rob were. We had our own vision of life, our own vision of where the band should go. But it was, you know, clear that it was Rob's band. And I struggled with that. He struggled with that. The other guys, you know, were kind of cast into the middle of that. So you don't realize how much stuff you push down in life, you know, especially when you're younger and you've got the bravado and the machismo and the ego and everything, you know. And um, to exercise all of that and to just pull that black sludge out and throw it on the table and look at it together. I tell people this, even if it wasn't an option to go on tour with them, that conversation was so meaningful and cathartic for both of us to tell each other how much we truly mean to each other, how hurt we were after it was over. Rob said things to me I never thought that he felt, and likewise. And we were able to squash that beef and squash that time. And then we moved on to, wow, we have a real opportunity here to not only progress Machine Head through this kind of rough moment for them, but also put a stamp on the legacy of Burn My Eyes, uh, and really, you know, really own it. You know, that it is a bit of a chalice of blood for the band. It always has been a benchmark. You know, they've put out phenomenal records over the years, but there's that Burn My Eyes moment. You know,
Yeah.
that seems to hold fast. You know, and yeah, it's funny because, like I said earlier, I'm a huge production whore and super into Kiss and everything. And we got through almost the whole meeting. We were talking about kids and dogs and just stuff. And I said, oh, guys, there's one more really, really important thing I forgot to bring up. And both their faces just dropped. They're like, oh, no, here it is. And I said, yeah, there's something we have to do. Fire. And they were, what? And I'm like, pyro. And he's like, oh. And I go, yeah, dude. I mean, burn my eyes. Burn, motherfucker, burn. Fucking Nation on Fire. The record is orange. I go, because I'd never played with pyro on stage before, you know. So now the Kiss fan, the Evil Knievel, the Bruce Lee, the 12-year-old moment is now coming out of my eyes, you know. And so he said, I think we can pull that off. So the whole production, the biggest production Machine Head ever took on the road. And I just think it was incredible how we switched from the classic Machine Head look, which I call the wine list kind of look to the stage, you know, with the fleur-de-lis kind of flourish and the gold logos. Didn't really speak to any one record. It was Machine Head classic, you know, almost. And then to pull everything down to expose that burn my eyes moment with the eyeballs on the sides and the backdrops and everything. You know, unfortunately, we weren't able to bring the pyro to the United States because of the Great White moment, you know, the fire at the station. That was really what they said. It's like, no, we're not going to do a Great White here, you know, and we understood that. It was a bummer, but we understood. So yeah, it was one of the most cathartic and cleansing and life affirming moments of my life, getting back to go do that and to chill with the fans, people who have met me or know me. They know my nickname is General Public. I don't do this to hide on the bus and play video games or get with groupies or, you know, things like that. That's really not my vibe. My vibe is meeting people and meeting my culture and my what I call friends. I don't even call people fans, you know.
I was going to say that I was there early. Like there was no way I was going to miss that show. Let's put it this way. Like,
yeah,
you know, like I feel like Machine Head is part of my history, at least of my indoctrination into metal music, being the first show that I've ever watched live. So there was no way I was going to miss this 25-year anniversary tour when you guys came to Toronto. I'm lucky enough that the PR guy set everything for me, so I was able to be there and be on the front row. And I saw you. I was there really early, and I saw you setting up, helping set up, seeing how things were. Even if you're not playing that first set, you were playing on the second set that came after.
Yeah.
So you're still involved. You're still moving around. You were like another roadie.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, like I said, I have an affinity for that. I love that whole thing. You know, Toronto was a very emotional show for me. Like I said, we could talk about it more. You know, I had COVID at that point, and most of the band had COVID at that point, and crew. Out of the 29 people on the US tour, 17 of us ended up coming down with it. So I was pretty sick that night, but we just thought we had tour AIDS. That's what you call it, tour AIDS. You know, you get sick on a bus, you get sick backstage when you're in this kind of bubble and vacuum on a tour. You know, you get sick. But we got really sick. We probably contracted it in New York through the 1st and the 4th, our show at Webster Hall, and then the 4 days off. By the time I got to Toronto, I was really feeling it. And, you know, Neil Peart had passed away beginning of that tour. And also there's a guy named Mike Box and Derek McGowan, who I met on the Slayer tour. And I was at a low point. Not gonna lie, we were kind of at each other's throats in the band, and I was really at a low point. And I met these two guys, and these young guys, and you know, I was like contemplating if music was even really gonna be my thing because of those frustrations, you know. And they just kind of shot me in the arm with a like, hey, this is not all about you, man. This is about being an entertainer, and then the great light you can bring to people. And meeting those guys and going out with them that day and spending the time running around the streets of Toronto and going to record stores and going out to eat with them. They became fast friends, you know? And then I never saw them again, you know? And as life happens, you know? And then the Facebook moment happens, you know? And everybody's on Facebook, and all of a sudden Derek reaches out to me and he's like, hey, do you remember me? And I have this kind of like elephant memory. Kind of trips people out sometimes. And so of course I did, you know, I remembered like almost all the nuances and most of the conversations, and that's what we did, you know. And he was blown away, and he said, well, I got to tell you something, you know, Mike has come down with cancer, and it's pretty bad. And I was just wondering if you'd reach out to Mike, and it started this whole Mike Box Rocks movement, where I reached out to a lot of people I know. They reached out to a lot of people they know, just to throw up the horns, take a picture and throw up some horns for Mike, just to give him strength, you know. And I did again some raffling and some stuff, and yeah, I reached out to Frankie Benali, and Frankie ended up calling him and kind of staying in touch with him. And so did another person that got very close to Mike was Danny Schuler from Biohazard.
Mhm.
And Mike ended up passing away some years before the Burn My Eyes thing, you know, and he just would have been so thrilled, you know. And his wife Kelly and his sister Vanessa and Derek, you know, they came to the show. They actually picked me up at the airport because I forgot my passport on the US tour. I left it and completely forgot that I didn't have my passport, and I would need it to get into Canada, dumbass. So I ended up having to stay in New York and get a FedEx from my wife and then fly to Toronto.
Wow.
Day of show. I mean, I got to the show late for what our schedule was, and made it in time for the meet and greet and everything. But yeah, if you remember, when I come out on stage, I held up a sign above my head that said Mike Box Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did the little tribute to Neil that night by starting my drum solo with YYZ, and then actually the middle section of Tom Sawyer in the solo. So that was my homage and my heart in his hometown, in Neil Peart's hometown. So yeah, that was a very emotional show for me and physically taxing.
I mean, with COVID and everything, it's incredible that you guys were even able to play and push through.
It was very, very bizarre going. You know, some members were going to urgent care. We had rock docs coming backstage to check on us. I've never been sicker in my life. Really am one of those people that, you know, everybody likes to make fun of now, but I don't get sick. I don't get the common colds or the flus and stuff. And this kicked my ass. Rob was incredibly ill, and he was pulling off Herculean performances behind COVID. And it was hard on us, you know. Like I said, it eventually became about 17 people that got sick, all in decreasing levels of illness.
Of illness, yeah.
You know, there was like a top 5 and then a next group, and then, you know, it went all the way down to a couple guys that were like, yeah, I feel like shit, let's get to work, you know. We didn't really realize what we had until our tour manager went home and was completely hospitalized in the UK with it, and we just put it together like, wow, we had it, because I had every single like symptom except the low oxygen count in my blood. But the elephant on my chest, the cough, the non-productive cough, the headaches, the diarrhea, just everything, you know, it was brutal. I broke 2 fevers at hotel rooms. We only had to cancel 2 shows or 3 shows on that whole tour because we just couldn't pull it off. So it was really intense, and Toronto was kind of the big I'm really sick night for me. When I look back at the videos, you know, my YouTube videos, I can see, especially during Blood for Blood, you can, if you watch it, and I don't care or whatever, but you can see I'm slipping. I have a couple issues during the set where I just felt out of breath, and muscularly I was just kind of slipping on that song. So it's kind of, when I see that, I'm like, wow, I remember when I was getting the flashes at that point, you know.
Well, for us standing in there, I mean, I had the night of my life there, so I know everybody enjoyed themselves. You guys pull out an incredible performance. So from our perspective, all of those things that you notice, that you know, it's the fog of battle, if you will. Because
sure.
For us, we're so into the moment, we're just enjoying ourselves, that all of that stuff kind of becomes secondary. We don't, it almost doesn't play as much of a role for us, the fans. And for me, I brought home, I'm actually looking at it right now, I brought home the Burn My Eyes 25 years set list with me. So I have it.
Oh, awesome.
I have it on the wall here. So I was able
to get
that. So for me, that was
great.
That was a nice treat. I'm really happy that I have that momentum. So
nice.
Great night.
Yeah, for me, one of the coolest things that happened that night, as soon as we were done, I jumped out of this, off the front of the stage. We did our bow and everything. And then I saw Derek McGowan, the guy I was talking about earlier, all the way in the back by the back doors, and just enough light to see his hand go up. And I launched the stick from the stage straight to his hand. I mean, it was no bobbling of the stick. I mean, it was literally, he did not move his hand. It just went whap. And
Wow.
for me and him, we just knew that Mike Box, he somehow put that drumstick on a string, and just put it in his hand. It was so, like I said, that's a very emotional night for me, and I love Canadian fans, and just had a great time. Met a lot of cool people at that show out front, and yeah, got a bootlegger to give me a couple T-shirts. I'm like, I'm all, how much for the band? And he goes, it's Machine Head. And I go, no. How much for the band members for the shirts? And he just looked left and right and threw me 2 shirts, one medium and one double XL, So I gave one to the wife and one to my buddy. But yeah, good times, man. I'm glad you were there. And just, these are the kind of things, like you're saying, first drummer to last drummer before the pandemic and stuff, these are crystalline moments that we share vicariously, and through the just the cosmic gel, and it's just intense, and it makes it all come together. I suffer from anxiety and depression, and it these kind of moments, man, they put another day on me.
Yeah, yeah.
They push it forward, and it's always meant a lot to me to share these experiences, and I'm very aware, I'm cognizant that, because I'm such a fan. You got to know, I was in the pit half that show in Lisbon during
Really?
Slayer. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Oh, I had to finally be told, look, Chris, you're on a tour, and this is a little bit of a liability for you being in the pit. So you got to kind of chill, because I mean, I was doing some stage dives certain nights and stuff, and if you remember, that's a large barrier to make it
Yeah,
over.
it is. It is. And the stage show in Lisbon is really high, like
Yeah,
off of where we are, like in the pit area.
yeah, and look, Portugal has become a huge fan base for Machine Head. I mean, when the Burn My Eyes thing was happening, we were getting hammered by the Portuguese fans, like, when are you coming? When is it happening? Don't forget about Lisbon, and they were showing me videos of the shows in Portugal, and they were insane. The sing-alongs and just the energy and the flair in the back, the giant soccer flair. And I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to, get the word that, hopefully the Machine Head tour will happen again. I'm just holding out. I don't have any news on it. It's definitely something I want to experience again, and hopefully, it can happen,
Well, the last thing I want to say to you is this. I know I'm not going to ask you for a guest list spot.
Nice.
I had to say that. I had to throw a jab at you. So I'm not going to ask you for a guest list spot next time you're in Toronto, but I will bring my Burn My Eyes CD for you to autograph.
Not a problem. We'll get that done.
Because that will mean a lot to me.
For sure.
The band means a lot to me. You mean a lot to me, and I want to thank you for taking the time. Like you said, these stories give you an extra day give you that boost for the day that comes after. Does the same to me. I mean,
Yeah, brother.
if somebody told my 14-year-old self that today I would be chatting with you, talking about these moments in both of our lives, I would say you're on drugs, and whatever it is that you're taking, I want some, because it's probably some pretty good shit, because you're absolutely out of your mind. So thank you for the time today.
Well, thank you too. I want to tell you how I became aware of you, actually. A really dear friend of mine who's really not really a metalhead and stuff, but he just was very happy for the Machine Head thing happening again. He sent me a link. He was like, check this really emotional reaction and review of the Machine Head tour, man. I think you'll enjoy it. It really hit me. And then I watched it, and I got to tell you, dude, you struck a note with me, dude. You really your passion for the band and your story and everything. I was like, wow, okay, mission accomplished. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You know, and there it is. You know, you move one person, you moved the earth. You know, and lucky enough to be part of that, and I'm honored to be part of, you know, your music experience and stuff. It's very flattering, and I appreciate you and everything you do with your show, and you know, it's just cool, man. It's just a good thing, and we need to do these kind of things and stay, because metal music is very fragile. I need people to understand this. um it's really fragile right now. Machine Head played some very small shows on the US tour. You know, we played to 85,000 people in Europe in 25 days. Was a little different story in the United States, and it wasn't just Machine Head. We were hearing from the night managers and stuff that they had just had Testament, you know, 300 people. You know, certain places, Death Angel, or you know,
yeah. I was just going to
Obituary.
say, I went to see Death Angel. Well, before you guys were here, Death Angel was here a few months before, and there were
Mhm.
maybe, I don't know, 100 people, 150 people, maybe even less.
Yes, you know, I like to say that, you know, more and more music is becoming an accessory and not a necessity. And it's an oversatiation. It's an over it's far too convenient to find our music, to get the tickets. I waited in the rain for, you know, Slayer tickets. I waited in the rain for records. You know, and then they'd be sold out. You got to come back in a week. You know, I mean, people can just click, 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 and get everything done too fast. You know, and you know, there's scary things like Lamb of God. You know, they put out that last album. It sold 37,000 copies the first week. They've played to tens of millions of people in their career.
Hmm.
Um, what's wrong? What's going on there? You know, and then to have this, it's almost like a sundial with metal music about the record sales. And then, you know, look, social media doesn't really show it too much, but all the live streaming and stuff, it doesn't pay. You know, there's no money there. It tricks the consumer thinking that there is a small amount of money there. So they say, oh, okay, this isn't Napster, or this isn't stealing the music. They're getting paid, but you need
Yeah.
something like 950 plays to make 1 hours of minimum wage money with 950 plays. So everybody just concentrate on what you're really involved in, understand that we're a very fragile culture and that we can fuck it up. You know, if we don't start to really, again, overvalue what we have as a music and an outlet and a release of everything and an escape form. You know, we need to really start to think about what we download or how we get our music, how we access our music. You know, buy t-shirts, go to the shows, and everybody's going to be strapped after this pandemic, but do anything you can to support it, because it could go away, and just don't take it for granted, you know.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and just be good to each other, be kind to each other, you know, have your opinions, but don't push it to hate, or to push it to, you know, a rejection of people or your space. You know, just be kind to each other. And again, thank you so much for having me on, dude. It
Thank
means
you,
a
man.
lot.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And once again, I just want to remind everybody for Tom Hunting's information in terms of the auction, the live stream, all of that stuff is going to be in the description of this video. So for those
Yeah,
watching, go check it out. Support these guys. And once again, Chris, thank you very much for your time.
dude, thank you so much. It was great. Good times talking to you, man.
It was a pleasure. Take care, man.
Look forward to doing it again. Take care.